So some of you guys know this. Joe Biden isn't really doing events right now. He's kind of staying out of the spotlight. Why is that the case? That's the case because his campaign already knows he is incapable of raising his poll numbers, meaning whenever he talks, people like him less. The more Joe Biden talks, the less people like him, the less people want to vote for him. Last time we ran a Democrat against Trump who has that same problem, what happened? I'll give you a hint. Trump won. Hillary Clinton, same issue. She was incapable of raising her poll numbers. Every time she spoke, people liked her less. That was the case in any race she's ever been in. That was the case in 2008. She starts higher than she finishes because the more she speaks, the less people like her. Joe Biden has that same problem. Joe Biden, the more he talks, the less people like him, especially when he makes 1.5 million racist gaffes an hour. So they decided to have his wife speak for him. Here's Dr. Joe Biden's wife. Here's what she has to say. This is quite a doozy. Ready for this?
So yes, your candidate might be better on, I don't know, healthcare.
Oh, she does know. She does know. She just admits his healthcare plan is garbage. Oh, your candidate might be better than, I don't know, healthcare. Just picking a small issue here. Just picking a small, tiny issue where, thousands and thousands of people die every year in the richest country in the world because they don't have adequate health care, where people go bankrupt over medical bills more than any other reason in the richest country in the world. Just picking that small. Maybe your candidate's a little better on healthcare than Joe. Tomato, tomato. This candidate's going to make sure you get healthcare. This Joe doesn't care. Joe's not going to get you health care. But, okay, so right out of the gate, starting strong. What an endorsement. Maybe one of the biggest domestic issues, arguably the biggest domestic issue facing our country. Maybe there's a lot of candidates better than Joe. And by maybe, I mean definitely. Maybe, well, there's one candidate better than Joe. The rest of them are just as terrible. But Bernie Sanders, better than Joe. All right.
Than Joe is. But you've got to look at who's going to win this election. And maybe you have to swallow a little bit and say, okay, I personally like so-and-so better. But your bottom line has to be that you have.
Where else do we apply this kind of logic? So I get it that Joe's not the most likable. I get it that Joe doesn't have policies that excites anybody. I get all that. But we have to think, who's going to beat Trump? Gee, maybe if somebody is totally uninspiring and nobody likes them, you can sit on my lap or you can just bounce. No, she decided to just bounce. I thought she was just going to come onto my lap. She was like, I'm so over Joe Biden. He needs to just drop out. I'm so over him. Lucy can't. Lucy always bails when we talk about horrible politicians. You ever notice that? Like yesterday when we were talking about John Delaney, she bailed. Today, Joe Biden, she bailed. Interesting. If we talk about Bernie or Tulsi, will she come back? That's the $1 million question. We'll see. I don't know if we're going to be talking about either one of them much today based on what's in the docket. But anyway, where else do you apply this logic that, hey, I know this candidate's not exciting, doesn't have policies that excite people, you don't like them, but they're our best shot at beating Trump? Where else would this logic apply? Where else would you see a quarterback's wife get on national television being like, look, I know that my husband does not have the highest passer rating on this team. I know that he throws a lot of interceptions. I know that he does not always make the smartest decisions on what play to run at which time, and he sometimes goes against the coach's wishes on that as well. I know he can't really run. He's not mobile at all. I know he's even fumbled a few handoffs. But we have to think about what's our best chance to beat this other team. And it's my husband. Why? You just said how he sucks on everything. Maybe if a candidate's horrible on everything and the base doesn't like them, they're not going to go on to win in the general. I know we entertain this fantasy that people in the heartland are just going, oh, please give us something shitty. We want something bad. But guess what? That's not true, because Bernie Sanders goes there and he gets standing ovation. Hillary Clinton, they wouldn't vote for her. The heartland wouldn't vote for her because they remembered NAFTA. because they don't want the TPP, because they know what fracking's done to their communities, because they wanted some real solutions for the economic crises that they're facing in their communities. Donald Trump gave them lies. She gave them nothing. So they took a chance on the lies, or they stayed home. They didn't not show up because Hillary Clinton was too far left. On what planet would Hillary Clinton be too far left? First of all, that'd be a country even more conservative than this one. All right, let's go on to this ringing endorsement here.
Because I know that not all of you are committed to my husband.
That's an understatement.
And I respect that. But
glad I have your respect. Glad I have your respect. That's I don't know. I have not been sleeping for weeks, actually, and I was just like, I wonder if Joe Biden respects me. I care what Joe thinks, so I really care what Joe thinks too. The entire Biden family, I really hope I have their approval. How condescending. I respect that. I respect that not all of you have listened to my husband speak and you realize how awful he is. I respect that you realize that my husband has more baggage than the Atlanta airport and you think he's probably a terrible candidate. I respect the fact that you don't want to see a debate season in the general election where it's just two old racist white men debate about who is the more old racist white man. I respect that. I respect that you think we deserve better than that, but I'm here to tell you, you don't deserve better than that. I'm really rich, and I'm here to tell you, you don't deserve better than two old racist white men who aren't going to do anything for you. You don't deserve better than that. Joe Biden.
I want you to think about your candidate, his or her electability, and who's going to win this race. And so
Bernie Sanders leading Trump in every poll. Bernie Sanders gets standing ovations in the heartland. Bernie Sanders, when he talks about Medicare for all on Fox News, people stand up and applaud, much to their chagrin.
If you're looking at that, you've got to look at the polls. And, a lot of times I say, polls don't mean anything, polls don't mean anything. But if they're consistent and they're consistently saying the same thing.
This is a woman who was put up to this by her husband and by his campaign. And now she is just pulling stuff out of the air. Oh, if the polls are consistent, what polls are you referring to? The ones that are cherry-picked by the DNC, that are conducted on landlines and excludes most people. Those polls, if they're consistent, we have to. Joe's our best chance. I know he's not a good candidate. I know he doesn't have good policies. I know people don't like him. But he's our best shot to beat Trump. Based on what? Here, you know what? Let's fast. I can't watch this whole thing. Okay, all right. So here you go. So her goal is to beat Donald Trump. She says this.
To beat Donald Trump, we have to have someone who can beat him. And so if you look at the polls, if you look at Joe with his record with independents, we can't just have Democrats who are going to win. We have to include everybody. Our party has to be more inclusive. Unless
you're progressive, then we don't want you there. Yeah, the Democrats need to be more inclusive, as long as you're more conservative than Joe Biden, which is really hard to do. But then we really want to bring you in. That's what she means. We need to appeal to people on the right. That's what she's saying. We need to be more like Republicans so that donor money can keep flowing in.
Which means we have to go to independents and say, join us. We have to go to Republicans and say, okay, you're a Republican, but you can't tell me that your children are proud of the president, of the things he says. And
right. Yeah, Donald Trump talks mean, so let's get somebody who will talk polite sometimes. Joe Biden already has skeletons in his closet just this campaign season alone. Is it should children be proud? Joe Biden, should children be proud when they hear Joe Biden say that poor kids can be just as smart as white kids? Should they be proud of the president when he says that? Were you proud of that moment, Jill? Was that a moment to be proud of? So ridiculous.
you can't, as a mother or as a father.
Okay. Oh, and now we're playing as a parent. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because people who aren't parents, they don't get a say in this. They don't have an opinion. All right, that's enough. So that's Joe Biden. That is Joe Biden, who was put up to this. I guarantee this was not her idea, and she's just BSing for 2 minutes about Joe Biden's electability, and she's basing it off of a couple cherry-picked polls by the DNC. That's her only argument here. If you look at the polls, I know Joe's not good on policy. I know a lot of you don't like him. I know he's incapable of raising his poll numbers. The more he talks, the less people like him. But we cherry-picked these few polls here that are relying on his name recognition, and according to them, he's the front runner. He's our best shot at beating Trump. This is just lies. And I guarantee you Joe Biden would lose handily to Trump. Joe Biden would get crushed in a general against Donald Trump because the status quo already lost to Donald Trump. And here's somebody with even more baggage. Joe Biden somehow arguably has even more baggage than Hillary Clinton, especially if you look at sound bites. I mean, this guy's already had a million missteps, and we're not even out of the primary yet. Joe Biden. So what a ringing endorsement. And again, where else would something like this ever happen? Like, where else would you ever see something like this where it's like, hey, I'm going to speak for my husband. We don't want him to speak for himself because he's really bad at raising his poll numbers. But, I know he's not good on anything, but he's probably our best chance to beat Trump. I'm basing this off of a few cherry-picked polls. Could you imagine a guy's in a band and his wife goes on and she's like, hey, my husband's band, I really want you to go to the show. I know that his songs are kind of lame. I know that whenever you hear him play music, you like him less. I know that he doesn't really have he's actually totally tone deaf, really. Like, he can't tune his guitar. He can't really sing that well. But he's our best chance at selling out Madison Square Garden. He's our best chance. Hey, we got to start my husband here. My husband's got to be the starting point guard. I know that he is useless from the three-point line. I know that he is about 20% from the foul line. I know that he doesn't run decent plays on the court. I know that he's useless on defense, but he is our best chance at beating LeBron. Your husband didn't even play college basketball. I know, but I, if you look at the polls that I made myself that consisted of just me calling his family members, he's got to start here. This makes the same amount of sense as all those examples I just gave. Joe Biden's wife talking about how he's electable while simultaneously talking about how he's a terrible candidate. Maybe if somebody's a terrible candidate, it means they're not going to win. Maybe if you have someone who doesn't even excite the base, that should be a barrier to entry. Do you excite the base? No, then you're out. Get someone who excites the base. And if they excite the base, guess what? They're going to connect with independents. They're going to connect with non-conventional voters. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said something along these lines, and I'm paraphrasing here, and I think it was a very intelligent thing to say. She said, look, it's not about reaching Republican voters. It's about reaching non-traditional voters, people who don't usually vote. And you know who has had great success doing that? Bernie Sanders and Tulsi Gabbard. That's who. Both of them are as far from Joe Biden as you can get.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and make it our own. Get your news on with Ron.